Select Music, and I'm finally getting to my top 5 favorite records of 2017. If you haven't watched it yet, I did a video talking about my honorable mentions for 2017, plus some of the records that came out in 2016 that I didn't get a chance to listen to until this year. So go back and watch that video and definitely check out what records that didn't make it into this top 5 list, but I still thought were highlights from this year. In terms of the general quality of music in 2017, as many good records that did come out this year, I still feel like 2016 was a better year for music. Maybe it's just me, and maybe it's just the records that I bought this year. I don't know, it just felt like in 2016 there was a higher volume of high quality, knock your socks off records coming out last year than there were this year. That being said, there were still some real quality albums that came out, and I'm going to talk about what I think are my top 5 favorite records of this year. And please bear in mind, my tastes completely differ from a lot of people, so the records that are in my top 5 are probably completely different from the records that would be in your top 5, top 10, top 20. Please put them in the comments down below. I do look at them, I do occasionally respond, and I would like to know what records that came out this year that I should be checking out. But with one little caveat, I don't care about Damn. I've already listened to Run the Jewels 3. Okay, that being said, let me get into my number 5 favorite record of 2017. One of my favorite records of 2017 is actually a record that originally came out in 2009, but got repressed this year. And that record is Julian Dine's Pins and Digits. If I were to try to quickly sum up Julian Dine's sound, especially on this album, think Flying Lotus with more of an Afro jazz influence to his music. There's a wide variety of stuff on here. There's a lot of electronic music elements, a lot of hip-hop going on, even a little bit of jazz and a little bit of funk and a little bit of soul, and as well as some Afro jazz rhythms on some of the tracks here. And again, Julian Dine and the whole list of guests that are on this album, them being able to blend all these different sounds and ideas together and not make it sound like a complete and total mess is one of the reasons that I love going back to this album, because it's just a musical feast for the ears and an album that I will definitely be listening to a lot in the future. So that's why, despite the fact that it came out in 2009, but it was repressed this year, Julian Dine's Pins and Digits makes it into my top 5 favorite records of 2017. My number 4 of my top 5 favorite records of 2017 has to go to Kiefer's Kickin' It Alone. I've already done a review for this record, so I won't go too much into detail about it. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and watch the review. And essentially, the best way that I can describe it is jazzy hip-hop instrumentals with a heavy leaning on jazz. But I will say this, having given this album a more thorough listen later on this year, I gotta say, like, Kiefer's piano playing is beyond superb. And I guess maybe it's just because it's been such a long time since I've heard such a proficient musician, but good God, Kiefer's piano playing all over this album is just so lyrical and so beautiful that, like, I haven't heard anybody do this over this kind of music ever. And I gotta say, if Kiefer continues to improve his craft, and, well, not that he really has to improve all that much, because he's already a damn fine musician and a damn good producer, but if he continues to improve after this album, Kiefer might be one of my all-time favorite producers. So, with the promise of new music and just a really damn fine, solid, jazzy hip-hop album, yeah, Kiefer's Kickin' Alone makes it into my top 5 at number 4. My number 3 goes to Lord Echo's Harmonies, which I honestly think, after having listened to Lord Echo's previous 2 albums, Harmonies is easily my favorite. I think with their previous 2 records, Melodies and Curiosities, both of them had moments that I really enjoyed, and definitely had 1 or 2 really standout tracks. But I also felt like there were a lot of moments that were just sort of, well, to remain positive, were just pleasant. Whereas I feel like Harmonies does everything that those previous 2 albums did, and just does it so much stronger than those other 2. I feel like the instrumental tracks are a lot more engaging. I feel like the vocal tracks are the best that they've done so far. Save the near classic cover that they did of Thinking of You. That track will forever stand the test of time. And I really feel like the material on here will probably end up standing the test of time. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Lord Echo sound, it's basically a musical melting pot of a ton of different genres. Jazz, funk, soul, disco, dub, reggae, house, electronic music, and a whole shit ton of different sounds. And Lord Echo has always done it extremely tastefully. And it just, to me, on Harmonies, Lord Echo has just done it better than they've ever done on their previous albums. So that's why Lord Echo's Harmonies lands in my number 3 spot. So my number 2 record for 2017 goes to Wildflower Balloons on Street Corner Music. You know, I debated whether or not to put this at number 1, and while I really do love this album, I gotta say, the record that ended up at number 1 just edged it out just by a hair. Wildflower, he describes himself as ambient pop meets hip-hop. I will go even a little bit lazier and describe him as Boards of Canada meets Jay Dilla. Ambient, sort of ambient hip-hop instrumentals that have that sort of post-Jay Dilla swing to them. But I think where Wildflower sort of stands out compared to a lot of beatmakers these days is his drums are just so unique and so alien sounding. Whereas it seems like a lot of producers right now are sort of going back to the same pool of stock drums. Wildflower really sets himself apart by using some of the oddest drum sounds that I've heard pretty much since, like, Boards of Canada's Music Has the Right to Children or Gio Gotti. And I sort of appreciate that in that sort of Jay Dilla-esque, beat-esque framework. It really works for me on this album. And I would like to go a little bit more in depth on this, and I will probably still end up doing a full-fledged review for this record in the future. But it's for those reasons that I just mentioned that Wildflower's Balloons ends up in my number 2 slot for 2017. And if you watch this channel, you probably have already guessed what record ended up at my number 1. Try not to act too surprised by this next one, but my favorite record of 2017 goes to, Rosebit and 14KT's Rose Gold. I already did a review on this record, so if you want a more in-depth take on how I feel about this record, go back and watch that review. But just in short, 14KT's production on here, absolutely incredible. easily my favorite hip-hop producer at the moment. Rosespit, he's going to be an MC that I'm going to be looking out for in the future. And it's just, honestly, it's an album that gets better with every single listen. There's more depth to it than you might hear the first time you listen to it. Rosespit's lyrics get better the more times that you hear them. There are still a few sort of iffy lines here and there, but overall, Rosespit is one of my new favorite MCs, and I gotta be honest, this is my favorite hip-hop album since Madlib and Freddie Gibbs's 2014 Pinata, and I'll be honest, I think I like this album a little bit more. So yeah, Rose Gold, my favorite album of 2017. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said at the top of this video, please go down into the comments section and let me know what your top 5 or top 10 or top 20 favorite records of 2017 were. I definitely want to catch up on a lot of releases. There is so many that I can't even think of them right now. Off the top of my head, Thundercat, the Igloo Ghost, I think it was, Kamisa Washington. Those are all Brain Feeder records, but L. Michaels Affair released a record this year that I still haven't listened to. Yeah, there's just so much music that came out in 2017 that I didn't get around to, and I would love to hear from you guys. What were your favorite records of this year? But I gotta say, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting Raw Select Music, the YouTube channel, in 2017. Make sure you go down into the description to hear any musical links from any of the records that I talked about and check them out for yourself. And yeah, I might still do another video before the year's over. If this is my last video, I want to say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good shit, and see you in 2018. If I end up doing another video, then there's no reason for me to say that. But I do want to say, once again, thank you for supporting, thank you for watching, and yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. Peace out.